Celebrating Solidarity International Women's Day, we continue with that theme here at CTV and Talk City 91.1 FM. This morning we are honored to have the Honorable Hedy Fry, Vancouver Centre MP, Trinidadian born. We are so proud to have her with us, Canadian MP. And also we have the Canadian High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago, Carla Hogan-Raffles. Welcome. Such a pleasure, such a pleasure. I've been reading about you. I even saw your article in the newspaper. Gender equality cannot be achieved without men. So I'd like to get into that a little bit later. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about the Celebrating Solidarity launch, the Caribbean Men Can campaign. What is this and what do you hope to achieve with this?
Well, I think Canada has been building this sort of gender partnership here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I think our High Commissioner felt that it was important to have men speak out about being supportive of women, A, and B, about violence against women. And in Canada, we're doing this now. Soccer stars, hockey stars, celebrities are all doing a 1-minute segment on Facebook saying, you know, we don't think you should hit a woman. These are our sisters, our mothers, our daughters, our wives. We don't believe that violence is an answer. So it reaches men out there who live in a culture where they think it's important to be violent, or they're angry and want to respond with violence. It has been successful, and Australia started it. But I think the idea that you need to talk to men about domestic violence is really an important one.
Do you share those sentiments?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So the idea really came from the Institute of Gender and Development Studies at UWI here. And we just took it on board, thought it was a great idea, a way to reach out to men of influence in the Trinbagonian society, who were recognizable, who could make statements from their own perspective, from their own hearts, really, about how important it is to celebrate, to support, to recognize how the women in their lives, and not only that, but also to really make a case for pushing forward on important legislation that will address issues around harassment, sexual harassment in the workplace, for example. You know, a national gender policy going forward, and you know, looking at you know, all those, looking for men from different parts of society that are recognizable to decision makers, but also to business people, to youth, to young men, to boys across society, and to try to have an influence. And what we hope this Caribbean Men Can Do campaign, which was launched yesterday, will actually, we're trying to push it out across the region and globally, and see if we can, if it can be a movement that can be started, you know, really get a wave going across, and you know, maybe have you know, Canadian Men Can campaign start
Canadian Men Can. All right. Now, Ms. Fry, I read a little bit about you. I understand you won a scholarship. You were studying for A-levels. You were doing languages. You got a scholarship, Oxford University, and then you decided to study medicine, natural sciences. Earlier, we were talking about women and girls in science, and you know, a lot of the times we're not seeing a lot of women taking part in the sciences, in the physics and the chemistry and that sort of thing. A lot of the engineering fields, it's dominated by men worldwide.
Yes, worldwide.
So you mentioned that your dad had a significant role to play in all of this, a male.
He did, of course. My father was my mentor. My father, I grew up here in Trinidad with a father who told me I could be anything, that being a girl was not different, I could just be. And so he gave me that confidence and the attitude to just say, hey, I'm here, look at me, I want to be part of whatever it is you're doing, can I join? But my father was a tailor, so we were not rich. We didn't have a lot of money. And so he was saving for his daughter to go to university or for a house. And of course, when I got the scholarship, there it was. He had everything he wanted. He had a house and he had a daughter. And then when I told him that I had been researching my scholarship level thesis, and that I was interested in psychiatry, I said I wanted to do medicine. Now, I went to St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando, and we didn't do science. I think we did home ec. That was considered to be science. So when he asked a friend, the friend said, you need science to get into medicine. And of course, I didn't have any science. And so he said, if you could give up the scholarship, you know, I have money saved. And so he gave me his house. I became his house. And he gave me that, and he tried to get me in. And I got into medical school in Dublin, Ireland, where they were doing a sort of a pilot project where they were taking 10% of women in pre-med who had a top of the bell curve in, or no, not women, just people at the top of the bell curve in languages, arts, humanities, not science. And so I had a year of pre-med in which to qualify for medical school. So I had a year in which to do the equivalent of a Bachelor of Science. When your father gives you his house, you do what you need to do to get there. And so that's how it all happened. So the idea that my father lifted me and helped me and gave me the freedom to be who I am really informed a lot of what I became later on, because I had this confidence. And so when I was asked to be minister for women, status of women and multiculturalism, I went, what? I come from a country where everybody seems to get along. All of us come from different cultures and races, etc. And women are doing extremely well in my country. They're having access to education. So I said, what are we doing here? And I suddenly tunneled down and looked at the data and looked at the evidence, and I suddenly realized that indeed women were being held back just because they were women. But when I talk about gender, and I think in our budget, we had a gender budget, fully covering every department must look at gender in Canada. The issue of gender is really important, because gender is not about men versus women. Gender is how men and women get opportunity. So why are there not a lot of men in nursing? And why are there not a lot of women in sciences? So what is the reason? And find the reason, cut through it, and create opportunity.
Great. What are your closing comments? What would you like to tell our nation on this particular occasion?
Well, I just how pleased I was to be here in Trinidad and Tobago, to have Dr. Hetty Fry, who really is an inspiration. She's been an inspiration to me throughout my career, and to have her here, to be in a position to be able to bring her home as a proud Trini Canadian. And Dr. Hetty Fry is the longest serving female MP in Canada. And so I'm just so proud to be able to share one of our national treasures and one of yours together.
Indeed.
And to have been able to celebrate International Women's Day here with all of you.
A pleasure. We'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And I hope to see you again sometime before the month ends. All right?
Thank you.